Danielle did it last time, so preferably someone else. Blair? Tim? Mike?
I won't have the time to get it.
Okay. Blair?
I don't think I can.
Oh, all right.
I'm not sure.
I mean, I could just do it, or Mike or Tim.
I can do it.
You want it? Okay. Thank you, my dear.
We have microphones.
Nobody else wants to do it. It's a personal thing to Amanda.
Thank you. Okay, roll call, please.
Oh, okay, well, that's on my thing, so,
Mark and Amanda are excused absent.
okay, Member Bacha, excused. Member Oparka, excused. Member, I forgot your last name. Bizanko.
Here.
Member Tominelli.
Here.
Member Duncan.
Here.
Chair Murray.
Present?
And, Member Devlin, present.
Thank you. May I have approval of the agenda as presented, please?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Tominello, supported by Mr. Vyzenko. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. May I have approval of the minutes from our last meeting, December 19th, 2024? Or please note any corrections.
I'll give a motion to approve.
Mr. Vyzenko, motion to approve. May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I actually just wrote your name down as Dalton instead of Duncan. Do you? I don't know where that came from. Okay. Our first hearing and review this evening, please.
Case number 02-25-S, Twin Oaks, at 24645 and 24629 Old Shook. Do you want the person numbers ready?
You don't have to go into that extent of detail.
Multifamily development for two separate duplexes consisting of 4 units.
Thank you. Mr. Young, do you want to give us our prelude before we
Yes.
dive in with the applicant?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So we have a request for site plan review. The applicant is Mike Greenwood. The proposed project is to develop a 4-unit multifamily residential development on Old Shook Road. It actually would consist of 2 duplexes, 4 total units. The subject site is actually 2 properties, both owned by G4 Limited Housing Development Authority. Combined, the 2 properties are 1.43 acres in size, and they have 165 feet of frontage on Old Shook. The proposal, essentially, each duplex structure is going to be 1 story in height. Each unit will have 2 bedrooms. The site plan does not specify the floor area of each unit. That's something information we need to get. Each unit will have a separate grade level entrance as well as a 1-car garage. Each unit will have its own driveway, and really the 4 units will be served by a shared kind of access drive into the site. That's 24 feet wide. It's my understanding, based on a conversation with the applicant, that this will be owned by one entity ultimately, and the 4 units will be rented. The property is zoned, both subject sites are zoned RM1, multiple family residential district. Multiple family dwellings are a principal permitted use allowed in that district.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
Yes.
Hi, how are you? Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Is there anything you would like to share with all of us before we start asking questions?
Just appreciate everybody looking at this project and reviewing it and give me the opportunity to tell you a little bit about it if you have any questions. And
Sounds good. Okay, go ahead.
well, he pretty much explained it, but I don't know if anybody has any other further questions. After we got all the feedback from all the different departments, we realized we thought the layout was a nice layout, but we didn't realize the rear yard setback didn't meet the zoning requirements for that area, the rear yard. So the reason I'm here is to ask if you can table the item till next meeting while we make adjustments, whether we reconfigure the locations of the building. We're not really sure. We might apply for a ZBA, get a variance for that back rear yard setback. We're not sure how we're gonna move forward yet, but
Okay.
I'm just
there
asking
any
if we can
additional
table it
inform-
to next month.
Is that the only item that you're going to be requesting?
Well, there's multiple items that need to be addressed, but, with talking to we've already talked to the fire department. We talked to, engineering came in for recommended, and all the items on the list, there's a lot of things on there, but I think we can get there next month.
Do you think that you're able to correct the items that are listed on the planner's letter, I don't know if I have I've got the engineer's letter in front of me, and the fire, and obtain your ZBA approval for the rear yard setback by the next meeting?
Well, we're not quite sure. If we decide to go through ZBA, we won't be able to be for next month. It won't line up with the dates. So if we decide to go through to the ZBA, I'm not really sure how.
Okay, so,
what the
well, we
next
have
step
the
would
option
be.
to table, we like to table date specific if we can, but it's not a requirement, so we'll just table until you're able to obtain what it is you're needing to
Okay.
come back.
Okay.
Okay, do you have any questions for us at this time?
I do not.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant? Oh, I'm looking this way and.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to table case 0225S, seeing that the requested from the petitioner, seeing as the ability to address the planner's comments dated January 13th, 2025, and the engineer's comments on January 14th, 2025. We'll just, at this time, we'll table it, so I won't put a date to it.
That sounds good. Table is the request of the petitioner to obtain his, and do we want to mention his ZBA rear yard setback?
Madam
Sure.
Chair,
Yes, sir.
I would suggest don't put that in the tabling motion.
Okay,
I know that the applicant and his engineer are actually looking at ways to maybe reconfigure the site so that they wouldn't even need the variance. That's why I think
Okay.
he was hopeful. Maybe they could even come back next month, because they might be able to reconfigure
Okay.
without the need for a variance.
so we won't mention that then.
Right.
So planner's comments, engineer's letter, fire marshal's indications. May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Mr. Dalton. Mr. Duncan, thank you. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we will see you when you return to us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. Pull that one aside. Okay, our next item, please.
Case number 01-25-SLU, Huron Point Excavating, E2490 South River Road. Temporary use of the storage yard for miscellaneous equipment and materials.
Okay, this is a public hearing this evening. why don't we go ahead and get Mr. Young's information, and then we'll open the public hearing.
Okay, I'd be glad to give a background on this.
Thank you.
This is a proposed temporary use review for a temporary storage yard. The applicant is Huron Point Excavating LLC on behalf of the property owner, Kamlesh Kalia. The property is 2.684 acres in size. It has 130 feet of frontage along Jefferson Avenue. And it also fronts Lake St. Clair. The Huron Point Excavating submitted their application and an accompanying site plan. According to their application and the site plan, the project will involve the temporary placement of Huron Point Excavating for up to 3 years during the South River Road Bridge Improvement Project. So that's an ongoing Macomb County Department of Roads project. And I believe that the Department of Roads had been actively seeking a temporary location for this marine excavating storage operation here. According to the application, the proposed improvements associated with this temporary use, it would include a new driveway to Jefferson Avenue, essentially a loose stone, a 21 AA stone surface, a new storage area that would be used to store, according to their application, tractors, excavators, construction equipment, vehicles, trailers, tools, miscellaneous types of steel, wood, and construction building materials. Well, that storage area would be enclosed by a fence with dark green privacy screening. They intend to place a 30-yard roll-off dumpster within that storage area. There'd also be a driveway between that storage area and the lakeshore portion of the site, and at that lakeshore portion, they're looking at dredging and shoreline improvements. There is a note on the site plan that indicates that the property will be returned to original condition at the end of the 3-year period. The property is zoned V1A Village Downtown Waterfront District. The V1A district does allow marine construction, maintenance, equipment, use, and storage as a special land use. Since they are seeking this as a temporary use for a temporary period up to 3 years, they're seeking the approval for this under section 11.14 of the zoning ordinance that deals with temporary structures, tents, and uses. This section gives the Planning Commission the authority to allow temporary uses for a specified period, but not to exceed 5 years. The Planning Commission can also require annual compliance reviews as part of that approval. Since it's temporary use, there are specific standards. It does require it to be treated like a special land use in the sense that a public hearing is required. That is this evening. But it does have specific standards that need to be met for you to consider approval of this temporary use. There's standards A through E, so 5 standards that you would be looking at. So that's the background. As I said, a public hearing is required, so we'll need to open that and hear comments, close the public hearing, and then afterwards you can deliberate on what to do.
Thank you. With that being said, may I have a motion to open the public hearing, please?
So moved.
Ms. Dublin, may I have a second, please?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The public hearing is now open. Generally, we have the applicant come up and give any additional explanation beyond what Mr. Young has provided, and anything that may be helpful to the public, and then we take public comment. So, is the applicant available? Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm Crystal with Huron Point Excavating. He pretty much covered everything. It's gonna be a temporary usage. We just plan on being there for about 3 years, and then the property will be returned to its original condition upon leaving.
And there was the one, okay, so it's really the time frame for the bridge construction?
Correct,
Once the bridge is
yes.
complete, if the bridge goes beyond 3 years, then your temporary use would be requested to be beyond that 3-year timeframe?
Yes, correct.
I don't know, I have not heard any discussion relative to the bridge timeframe.
I couldn't say for
Yeah,
certain.
so-
I know.
Would you be opposed to an annual visit from
No, not at all.
township for compliance review?
Yeah, not at all.
Okay.
We've done an SLU before where we were at prior to this, so I'm aware of the process.
Okay.
So we're in the process of getting everything like the Knox box installed and everything, so.
And when is it due that you'll be moving things over? And starting,
We've already moved over.
okay, so you have everything already there?
Yep,
Okay.
moved and set up and,
Commissioners, any questions for the applicant before we open it up for public hearing?
So I wonder why the move happened before this process.
Actually, we usually wait until afterwards, but because that is the first question and it's a good question, are you able to answer that?
so we were forced out of our location by eminent domain law, and the county, the Macomb County Department of Roads and us have been seeking another place for us to go. We had already turned in the application to Harrison Township. Everything was verbally okayed, and
So you've been working with Macomb County Department of Roads?
correct.
And the township supervisor?
I'm not sure. Maybe, I think it was, couldn't say for sure. I know I turned in the application to the township. I was dealing with, Mr. Zuck over at the Department of Roads and their company ORC, so.
Well, we are in possession of a letter from Mr. Verkest to
Yes.
the PC. Any additional questions?
I do have a question.
Okay.
Has the fire department been involved in the relocation of this, into this?
He's
place?
been notified. We got a letter from him, so he
Have
said
they
he.
been out there, though?
I'm not sure if he's been out there personally. We've had a few different people out there. He just said he wanted the Knox box reinstalled at this location.
Right.
And the same, everything that applied at other location applies here, which was like fire extinguishers and stuff like that.
What
So,
about
but-
the unprotected fuel tanks that you guys have out there?
We have them on a storage pad, and we gotta put the square tubing. We did that over at our other location, so you put square tubing up and then chains around it, and that's what the fire marshal had us do. So we just have to do that still.
I guess I find this a little bit irregular because, I mean, I've been observing excavation going on for quite some time before the materials were moved in, so I just wonder that it hasn't come to the planning commission. Not saying that you did anything wrong at this point, but it's just, maybe Larry has some answers.
This is this first time hearing about it.
But can we revisit some of the past history of this past year? It seems to me like we had this company in front of us this past year dealing with their site that they're at. So obviously somehow now the county has taken that property over. They're
Well-
now basically kicked you out?
Well, they signed a lease with the lady we were leasing it
Okay.
from, and yes, their
So-
lease began.
So we went through all that process. And it seemed like at that point we were chasing tail the whole time. That things were being done without approvals coming through this board. And I think we kind of acquiesced a lot and seen our way through it. And now we're back here again. To me, it's kind of a slap in the face. So the county's moving forward with this bridge project, which would be my main concern for the community, is that that gets fixed. So they're gonna move forward with that whether we grant you this tonight or not. Am I correct?
From,
Okay, this just affects your business.
correct.
Okay, all right.
And if I could just take that clarification one step further, the property that you were using on South River Road to store your excavating
Yes.
equipment is owned by another person who granted Macomb County Department of Roads access to that property
So,
to store their road building materials until the bridges, or the bridge fixing materials, until that construction project is complete, right? Is that it in a nutshell?
pretty much, we had a lease and then
Which
our
required
lease turned
you
over
to
to
then
Macomb,
move.
yeah. So
Okay.
Macomb County took it over, or whatever, signed a new lease with
And,
her.
and so did that happen faster than what you had
I-
anticipated?
They just wanted us out like immediately, so I guess we were hindering up whatever they had going on. I couldn't tell you what they had going on behind the scenes, but they were pressing for us to get out.
Any other questions from
So
the
there's
commission?
also some sort of relationship with the actual property owner here, which isn't you, right?
No, I'm not the property owner,
Right.
no.
So there's some sort of relationship with the supervisor who kind of brokered this deal, right? So I guess I understand why it happened, but I think the timing, it should have come to us much before this.
I agree, yeah.
Because now, I mean, it's there.
It's kind of a convoluted, messy situation, but yeah, I agree.
For sure, but still, I mean, the surrounding neighborhood has the right to their due process. as
Sure.
well.
Well, and special land use has to meet
Right.
standards, and we don't even know if that is taking place, right?
Okay,
Parcels surrounded by all residential, and you're gonna put heavy equipment in between a middle of residential, so.
Should we open a public hearing?
well, we did open it, and so that's why, and I wanted her to come and the applicant to
Okay.
declare the information at hand, and then for us to ask questions, and then to take the public. Are you, any more questions from the commissioners? At this point?
Not-
We know
not
we'll
right
have,
now.
I think we'll probably have
I mean,
questions after.
Once we get past the public hearing,
Yeah.
I think we should talk about, the site
Okay.
and what is actually being placed on the site, and whether that.
Well, with that, I will give you my spiel. First off, please be kind, be respectful. We understand that this is could be a tight situation, but please be kind of your words, be respectful of the residents and the applicant. We have a limit of 3 minutes. And so I will ask you to please stay within that 3 minutes, and I'll set my little timer. If something is mentioned, we're taking notes, we're keeping track, and we're asking the applicant to take notes as well, because we're going to have you come back and address these items following. So if something's already mentioned, you don't need to mention it again. We understand if you have a passionate feeling about it, but know that we will have written it down. So we ask for your respect. And with that, we'll go ahead if you want to take a seat and take notes. And with that, we will open have the public come up. Anyone like to come and speak? And please give us your name and your address, and 3 minutes, please.
My name is Susan Garrett. I live at 25928 Maritime Circle South. My only question is, who does she work for, and what are they doing if they're not preparing, if they're not with the road commission? Are they working on the bridge? What are the 3 years that they need the land for? That's my question.
Okay. thank
What is
you.
she doing?
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm at 35850 Jefferson, and I'm right next door.
And your name?
What-
I'm sorry.
Michael Holland,
Mr. Holland, thank you.
yeah. You know, I've known Aaron since he was born. I got nothing against it, but it's in my backyard. You know, I go home to relax. You know, one day I see him moving in, I call the township. Oh, they're just temporary, no notifications or nothing. And it's a mess. Piles of dirt up against the fence. You know, Sunday morning, machines going. It's ludicrous. I just don't get it. You know, I bought that piece of property and I paid dearly for it, so I had my peace and quiet. It's gone. 3 years turns into 5 years, turns into what after that? And then how do you get rid of them? 10 years later, they keep coming in here? What if I die tomorrow, my wife wants to sell a property? It ain't worth nothing now. I just don't understand it. It's nothing personal. I've known her since she was born. I don't get it. I don't know how we got here before we were notified or anything. And I'm in the same kind of business, but I have a shop on North River Road where you can keep equipment and stuff, and I don't get it. There's lots of places in Harrison Township. I'm just going to be quiet now because, you know, out of my mind.
Thank you, Mr. Holland. Anyone else?
Chris Dugan, 35876 Jefferson. I'm directly affected. I live right next to that yard. It looks like shit. I was never notified this was coming. Bang, it's in my backyard. Nobody said you can do this. You guys didn't even approve it. Or if you did, you went behind back doors. But I didn't appreciate that. Exactly what Mike said. This is supposed to be, I understand, a 2-year contract, Macomb County. And you guys already lost a year. So you got a year left. I don't know why they're going for 3. And it's going to be turned back into what it was. I think this is permanent. I'm telling you right now, it ain't temporary. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Chase Roble. I live at 24854 Trombley. And I'm just curious if the company had any choice about any of this or if they were just kicked.
Which company?
Here on Point?
You're on Point Excavating?
Right. Obviously, they're the ones moving. I assume, I don't know if they had any choice.
I just want to make
in
sure I
it.
get your can you repeat the question?
Did the company have any choice?
Okay, thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Joshua Roberts, 25949 Waterway Drive. Just probably only 2 questions right now. How much traffic is this going to bring to Jefferson Avenue? In the middle of the summer, it's ridiculous. So when this bridge goes in full effect, I mean, are we going to be able to get school buses down there? How big of a traffic jam is this going to throw? Also, if they're having fuel stored, what precautions are being taken to make sure we have no spill into St. Clair? That's all I have.
Thank you.
My name is Sandra Fairbanks. I'm at 25864 Maritime Circle North. My question is, what are they classifying as equipment? Because when I drive by there, I'm seeing what I'm perceiving as boat carcasses. Are they storing abandoned boats? And that's my question.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alexia Diamond. I live at 25764 Maritime Circle North. I know you guys had some, I think it was outlined some security, like padlocks or whatever. It still doesn't, it's wide open right now. There's a lot of traffic and everything like that. I mean, what's gonna allow people from going in there and just stealing stuff? I mean, we've got a lot of stuff going on in the area, brings a lot of attention to it. What's gonna be done?
Thank you. Anyone else? This is your opportunity.
Hi, Byron Kalia. I'm the owner of the property, 35922 Jefferson and 35890-896, where this is being taken place at. I'm actually a commercial broker as well, too, and I've been working extensively with Aaron to try to relocate or try to find some other properties to no avail. So, we've been working on this for over a year, trying to find properties or trying to find something that either are too expensive, the township won't allow it, or they're, completely, or they're not for sale, or private properties, whatever the case may be. So, on a temporary basis, whatever the case is, the guy's gotta go somewhere, something's gotta be done. Everybody in the township, when they need the guy, they bend over, the guy bends over backwards to do whatever work needs to be done for the township, for the residents. But, when the guy's got to store his stuff, everybody's up in arms. Nobody wants to see the stuff. So, we're doing our best here. And, the poor guy already got robbed. She's already talking about, the security of the place. The guy, the guy already had, over $100,000 in equipment stolen out of the place. So, it's not a, walk in the park here. It's, it's something that, everybody's got to, I'm sure it's not the greatest thing to look at when you pull out of your maritime circle or your condos there or whatever, but it's temporary. He's not staying there for, the bridge gets done, whatever the case is. Hopefully, if, he can go back to where he was. But, again, and on top of it, he's doing this all out of his own pocket. The county hasn't compensated him for anything. So everything you're seeing done there is completely funded by him out of his own pocket. He's being pulled off of other jobs to excavate this property, to prepare this property for him to be there temporarily. And, it's quite unfortunate, but it is where we're at. And, the time was of the essence. The county wasn't giving him any relief. So, we had the property, we had the location, and he had to get out. Otherwise, they were going to confiscate his equipment and, what are they going to do? What's he going to do? So that's all I just wanted to say.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. If nobody else is gonna, has a comment then, that hasn't already been mentioned, then I'll go ahead and request motion to close the public hearing, please. Thank you. Motion by Ms. Devlin, seconded by Mr. Duncan to close the public hearing. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, so you took good notes? Okay, well, I've got good notes as well, so.
Okay, so to answer the First Lady's question, no, we are not the ones working on the bridge. We had a location, we've already applied for an SLU permit, we're approved, we were there. We were happy where we were at. We didn't want to move. Macomb County Department of Roads needed our property to set up there was a bridge, a residential bridge for other people that live at the end of South River Road to be able to access their homes, needs to be replaced. They needed to use our property where we were located to store their equipment and set up staging for their project. This wasn't our choice. We didn't want to move. We were perfectly happy where we were at.
And could I have you address us, because
Yep.
that way the camera is
Sorry.
situated correctly, and we make sure that we hear your voice on the mic and all. So thank you.
Can I ask about, something about that?
Sure.
Since we're discussing that. So when you entered into the lease with the property owner over at the original location, was this project discussed in the lease at that time?
No, we had been renting that property over at our original location since about 2016 or 2017.
Because I remember when that special use came before us.
Yes.
There was some discussion of the bridge happening.
Correct.
So, I mean, not a lot, nobody knew any details or anything at that time.
So our lease had already started before that. So we were in the property before SLU even became a thing in Harrison Township, so.
I mean, I'm just trying to establish that you didn't do that, your firm did not do this knowingly. It seems like the township and Department of Roads are trying to get a solution to free up the property so that they can use it to build the bridge.
Correct. Yes, correct.
And then the problem is where to put you.
Correct.
So, the property owner here, does he also own the, mobile home park?
Yes.
Okay, so that's kind of a concern, right, that, so many folk, perhaps disadvantaged are, right there next to higher intensity industrial use as well as the single-family residents that are there. So, and again, this is not personal to you or your company.
No,
And I understand that your company needs to be at a lakefront location. But then when I hear the property owners say that your company are doing this, you're paying for it all, I mean, that's just not how these things work. They have to compensate you to move it.
we have to turn in like relocation forms with money that we've spent, but currently it's on,
But you will be compensated.
it's on our budget, so.
Yeah, I guess I'm just really
Can you
struggling.
refresh my memory, though, on this last year? So we
was like
had this in front of us before because their company was operating out of Miss Sable's site when they shouldn't have been.
Right.
Proper, and we had to go with the special land use and all that kind of stuff. So we dealt with that at that site. And I believe we did have some conversation about this bridge because there was thoughts that part of that property would be used where they would divert traffic around through it, and that there was a discussion about how that would be remedied after this project was done. So this was already discussed. Now we're back here X months later, talking about a situation where the same company is back into a location, and we're having to deal with this all over again. Why?
Yes, but-
Why are we dealing
I
with
mean, the
this
township
again?
has a role in this.
In fact.
Oh, I
is what I'm saying.
don't discount the
I mean,
county.
it's
I
not
think
just
it's
on the applicant.
ludicrous that they're not here.
Well, Ken sent the letter. I just wanted to establish a couple of those facts. That's all the questions I had. But when we get ready to talk about the actual site, then I think I have some comments.
Okay, the next issue, property value, messy. And how did you get there without the PC, Mr. Holland's question?
PC being,
Mr. Holland asked, he's the one who lives next door with the dirt piled up against the property, and he's worried about his property value.
Chris is right next to him, I'm next to Chris. 80-some feet away from it. But my house is on the water, and when I turn to my left, I just see piles of dirt, equipment.
Okay.
I didn't buy the house for that.
Okay, got it, thank you.
so we are in the process of setting up. We are still trying to operate a business full-time. The property hasn't been completely set up yet. So we are, like, we have a gate up, we put the screening up because we understand nobody wants to look at it, so we're trying to get it out of everybody's view. We did put swing gates up to keep public out of there. We're waiting on a fence company to come put up an electric gate that's locked. We do have a padlock or whatever on the swing gate. We're doing everything that we can within our budget and within reason and trying to follow.
Well, okay, but you have to hold your questions to let the applicant speak.
I mean, our aesthetics really, there's a lot of stuff in the township that are an eyesore, so.
Well, that's not good.
Okay, so the next question is, obviously, it looks terrible, it's an eyesore, but also worried, excuse me, sorry, the public hearing was already opened and closed, so it's time for the board to address questions with the applicant, so thank you for your patience. Worried about it being permanent.
We have no intentions of staying there permanent.
So let me take that to the next logical question. Once the bridge work is complete and that, and the Macomb County Department of Roads vacates that piece of property that you were previously using, are you going to be moving back to that property, and do you have permission from that owner to release that property?
I can't make decisions on her behalf, but we are exploring all options.
So at the end of let's just say it's a 3-year term. The bridge is complete, your 3 years are up. Where are you going?
We have 3 years to decide, either somewhere further or on the water. We've been looking, so.
So while this is ongoing, you are still continuing to
Yes,
search.
correct.
So then we take the next logical question. If you find something on the water between now and 3 years, are you moving again?
I guess it depends on what we find and the cost.
Is that your intention to move
Correct.
again, though?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, at the end of within the 3 years or at the end of the 3 years.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
Just a little, going back to the history of the special land use approval at the River Road property. As you may recall, your approval was a special land use approval, granted them the ability to operate there. It was not a temporary, it was a permanent. Now, there were some things that, knowing that the property was likely going to be relocated because of the road and the Department of Roads equipment, there were some permanent things that they knew they had to do. I think dumpster enclosure might have been one example.
Yep.
And you waived that for the temporary period, knowing that there's no point forcing them to put up a dumpster enclosure only to have it be removed by the Department of Roads. The stipulation was that they are approved, again, to operate at that location once
That location.
at that location, yes, once the Department of Roads project is done. But those improvements that you waived temporarily would have to be installed. So in that sense, I did just want to, maybe that informs the discussion here, that they are approved to go back to that location on River Road for special land use.
For special land use.
Yes.
But in the event that contract falls through.
Of course.
They're required to return to us if they should seek an additional special land use or some other type of a situation. That doesn't carry over to anything. That doesn't go with the business. That special land use goes with that piece of property.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, obviously, we can't control
Right.
what that property owner, if they would let them come back or choose a different business at that time, that's out of our control. But that property is approved for a special land use for marine excavating and storage.
Yes.
So they could go back there once this is done.
Thank you.
Adam, how long is it before a special land use, a special use permit that isn't being utilized, how long before it reverts and is vacated? Whatever the proper term.
I would have to go back to the ordinance. Once it's established, then it just goes to essentially abandonment of a use. And that gets complicated too, even what the ordinance would say. Courts have determined there has to be, willful abandonment on the part of the owner to demonstrate that they. So a time frame isn't always the clue. It's have they made attempts. So this would be, have they disconnected the water, or they, that kind of thing. So essentially, as the chair indicated, it runs with the land. We would have to kind of initiate like abandonment procedures or demonstrate that it had been abandoned to say that the special land use is no longer valid.
Because conditions change,
Sure.
like, not in this case, but in any case, if they say, oh, well, I know we got approval, but we're not gonna do it, and then things change, and then 6 years later, they come back and they say, oh yeah, we got approval, we're gonna do it. I think there's some sort of statute of limitation.
Yeah, absolutely. If they have a different use between then and now, absolutely. So the approval or the marine excavating and storage use is no longer there. That's, essentially the owner saying, we've abandoned that use because we've given it to somebody else, or a different use was allowed to operate there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The next question was, did Huron Point Excavating have any other choice? And I think you addressed that. You've been searching,
For some time, yes.
okay? Traffic issue in the summer. Mr. Roberts questioned, how are you going to handle, what's the safety plan for no leakage into the lake?
We are 200 plus feet away from the lake.
So how are you going to handle leakage into the property then?
I'm
Not
not,
necessarily
we
the
don't
lake,
really,
but the property.
we don't have anything really to leak. We have equipment up there. We did put down geofabric and aggregates and crushed rock. If there's leaks, we would clean it up. Our equipment goes on barges and stuff like that, so it's maintained regularly, so.
One of the questions from a Maritime resident was, what is classified as equipment? They were seeing boat carcasses on the property. What is being stored there?
So those are the boats that we pulled out of the water for the winter. During the winter months, we do our maintenance. So they're
So
not
that's the
boat,
equipment that you use
Correct,
during
yes.
the wet season?
yes,
Okay.
they're steel boats, so they're not that beautiful.
So where would the barge be stored?
The barges can just stay in the lake,
Like right in front of the property?
yes.
And are they in front of this particular piece of property?
No, not at the moment,
Okay, but you plan to move them there if this all is approved?
yes.
So just looking at the site plan, the fenced area, it looks like that is some distance off of where the barge will be.
Correct.
So you'll have to take equipment out of the fenced area and take it.
That's what the road, yeah, the road leading back to the fenced area, or out of the fenced area to the lake.
So, what was the thought in not like fencing the entire area where the equipment will be not just stored but used?
We didn't need the entire area, I guess, just an area that we use.
And like there's a stockpile area that won't be fenced, do I understand that right?
Correct.
So that seems to be real close to the.
So that's
So
a
that's,
partial fencing is what you're indicating then?
can I see are you talking about the ones by the lake? Yeah, so that's when we have to dredge the muck out of there. There'd be silt fencing up there for it to de-water, and then it'd get trucked out. Because there's, I don't know, maybe about 70 feet of the algae infestation, muck, and overgrowth of vegetation, and shoreline debris, and
Yeah, microcerial woolly is actually the algae, it's quite an issue in this area.
it's very bad over there.
And it can trap, things like E. coli that we see. So, having it be a spoil pile, it's gonna smell probably.
We've had the EGLE and the United States Army Corps out there, so they're working on issuing the permits as well.
Yeah, I'm just saying from the
Okay.
standpoint of neighbors, if you have a pile.
It smells in the lake.
Woolly it's gonna smell.
Yeah, it smells as it is.
So what you're representing here is this work that has not started yet?
The dredging and seawall and stuff, no, that has not
All
started.
right, so what part of this project has
Just the
started?
fence and the lot and the gravel in the front.
Okay, and that's stuff that was permitted by the township already?
And the
Yes.
storage. Lots of
Okay.
storage.
Now, does township can answer, do they get forewarned about starting any of these things prior to getting approval for these types of projects? Or they said, just go ahead and do it and hope that you get approved?
I don't know about the approval. I don't know what approval was given.
Okay.
Hang on 2 seconds, please. So you're indicating that you did have approval from the township to place that fence and to begin activity? Did I
I'd like
hear
to see
that?
it.
Yeah.
I guess just a verbal and, I don't know what you would want to call it. I don't know if it's say, I don't know if I'd
wanna
say
see the
place the
permit.
fence. We had authorization to go over there and that we were doing that. Like, everything was discussed prior to us moving over there.
Did this go to tech team at all? Did it go
No.
to a tech, it didn't even go to tech team?
So discuss with her.
Just a comment, you can't put in a cyclone fence in your own backyard without a permit in the township. So you have a process. You have to follow the process. The township approves it. You get your permit. You have to put a dollar amount down. You then get a dollar amount back when the project's done. Do we have that paperwork? So you're willing to basically burn for money by not following the process? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Just a question.
You
guys haven't asked her yet.
We haven't gotten through our list of questions, so hang on to that, okay? Thank you. Okay, so did you want to follow up that question, Ms. Devlin?
Which question?
How did that happen? Who approved?
Yeah. Who decided, who told you that?
Do you have any paperwork, anything?
So this is an issue building permit?
Yes.
Issue
8:30, I think.
8/30/24.
We didn't move it until October.
That's probably about when I started to see like brickwork happening. Doesn't have signature. Do you have one that has a signature?
No, that was, I believe they mailed it or emailed it to me.
Do you want to
Oh.
pass that down? Is
Yeah,
that,
sorry. They're usually.
what is it that you're looking at?
I think we're just trying to establish how we got it. Not saying that you did anything. This is a very irregular
Situation.
order of things.
The whole thing was irregular.
While we're looking at that, let me ask you then to address, Ms. Diamond requested information on security. I'd heard that you already had a over $100,000 issue, equipment stolen.
Yes.
So how do you plan to address security on the
We
property?
put up a swing gate because we are waiting on East Side Fence to come put in a slide electric gate. They had to make the gate in-house and whatever their schedule is for them to come out. So we did put up a temporary, I guess, swing gate to keep people out of there with a chain and a padlock on it to the time being, until a fence company comes and puts in a
And is that working?
electric gate. Yes, so far.
So this permit, the way I read it, only grants a culvert, creating of a driveway, seawall with pilings, and dredging. It has nothing to do with the fence. Just my observation.
The original plan has always included a fence. That was one of
But you
the,
don't have a permit for that. So the question, I think, was, how did the work get started without a permit? I think that's what Stephen was asking.
okay.
So another question, you, was indicated by the current property owner that you are seeking an additional location. I'm just going to be blunt and ask this question. Since you're putting all this money into this particular property, security, fencing, gravel, remediation efforts in case of preparing the seawall, is that stopping you from seeking another piece of property?
No. We have to be able to operate or continue to operate. So.
And
those are
so
all-
the money that you're putting into this property, will you be seeking reimbursement from the Macomb County Department of Roads as
Yes.
part of your location efforts?
Relocation efforts, yes.
And then does that mean that if you move again and you have to redo again, security, fencing, gravel,
They don't-
remediation,
they wouldn't cover
safety
that.
efforts, that would be on your own then?
Correct.
Okay, did you hear anything that I didn't, did you pick up anything that I didn't
Sorry, I was
state?
taking notes. on
Please.
that. The traffic per week, probably be less than 40 cars per week. There's only a handful of employees. We get shipments maybe once or twice a week.
And what kind of shipments are those? Large?
Just semis of steel. Sheet
One-
pile
Once a
or,
week, you say?
if that. Sheet pile would normally come maybe once a month or every other month.
Anything else?
I think that was everything.
I hit all my questions. Commissioners? Questions? Oh, thank you. I have a question. Okay, team, public hearing has closed. It's not something, but hold on. I understand that, and it's not something that we've addressed already. So, okay, give us an opportunity to ask our questions, because chances are, we'll come up with that question as well. So if you could just hold that thought. We're just trying to follow protocol, standard protocol. If we, and I'm sure you understand, if I open the rules today, guess what? Somebody else sees that, and the next public hearing, the rules get opened again. You did it last time, and we've already had that happen before. So 2025, we are following the rules. So hang on to that, just hang on to that thought.
Chance to ask a question?
You did,
During the public hearing.
yes.
Yeah, public hearing was already
Public hearing closed.
That was your opportunity.
We're creating a haven for
When she announced it, and the public came up,
that
I
basically means-
introduced myself, and the public came
The
up.
public hearing starts when this applicant comes to, our first, it may have at some point. Well, and that's because our first applicant tabled. So the first applicant went by very quickly. So we didn't spend a half hour on our first applicant. This applicant came up right away. So we took this applicant shortly after 7 o'clock. So, and that's because that's our agenda. So we follow our agenda. Yeah.
was sent a letter, it
Yeah.
said 7:30.
Yeah, no,
Well,
that,
no, I
no,
guess then-
no, 7 o'clock is when our meeting starts, so. Okay,
7:30.
commissioners, any questions for the applicant?
So is it set forth in writing somewhere that I'm not seeing because I'm trying to do this digitally now? That, what the restoration will be?
Madam Chair,
Please,
there's nothing on their site plan other than that indication that the property will be returned to the original condition at the end of the 3-year period.
Do you guys want
There's
me-
no details about, what measures, what
Yeah.
guarantees.
Okay, because the original condition was like a grassy area, it had no development whatsoever. So that's quite,
No fence?
I mean, yeah, so restoring it to that is significant, a significant restoration, potentially. If there's, especially when there's dredging going on. So, I don't know, I guess I would like to see more detail on what the property owner, not the tenant, but the property owner intends for that to be restored to, if that's proper.
I think we can do that.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Would the property owner like to come forward and address that, please?
I mean, other than its original condition, back to, seeding it and sodding it. I mean, I don't know what else you guys want.
Well, hold on.
Oh, well.
Please.
Is he gonna-
So if there's,
If anything, that's improving the property.
if there's excuse me, the conversation, please, Mr. Holland, Mr. Holland, I think that's right, Mr. Holland? Okay, the conversation has to be this way, so please, just hold yourself, okay?
It was next to
I
your
know.
house,
Oh, I would be
you'd
livid.
sitting here.
I would be livid, I will be honest with you, so, but also we're following protocol, so just hold tight. Okay, so gravel and so on, and fencing and so on, and so returning it to its original state? Its original state?
I mean, I don't know about removing the seawall and all that stuff. I mean, you're gonna.
Well, no, I
mean,
guess
like-
that would be an improvement to the
Well,
property.
But I mean,
Well,
that's
so-
what we need to know.
Yeah,
Right.
so I do need to know that, and here's why. We're all residents, we've all seen the boat launch over the last several years, filled with Lingbaya. It basically has turned into a new land, and now you're talking about cutting something into a shoreline that's sort of diverting the Lingbaya. Now you're going to create something that's going to capture Lingbaya and cause another issue. So if we go through with this and approve it, I would want to see that filled in to soften that shoreline. It's my personal opinion, because it's going to be a Lingbaya capture.
It already is.
And will I,
It
But
already
you're
is.
enhancing it, you're creating something to enhance it. So, to me, restoring it to original condition would be a straight wall where the Lingbaya can travel either north or south.
I mean, that's his
Along-
plan, right? Is a straight wall,
Not the way, I'm looking at a cut-in well. And that cut-in well is going to be a
65 feet.
capture for a Lingbaya.
All right, well, say then he,
sheet
it off.
So I think that's getting back to the plan. So we have a special land use. We have the right to request a plan on what it's going to look like and what's going to be done in detail for restoration. And I think that's what we were sort of getting to, because we just have pictures and hypotheticals. So we'd want a detailed plan, like we request in any other site plan, to see exactly what's going to happen. I think that's what the commission is asking.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why, I mean, if they can, if they're cutting in a well or whatever it is for the barge, if they just sheet it off and make it a.
And maybe that's part of the plan, and it would have to be shown.
well, I think that's not, that would be the jurisdiction of legal and Army Corps, whatever, as far as the shoreline issues. But I'm still concerned about the impact on the adjacent property owners with the way the plan is now. So I would be interested in hearing if there's some measures that can be taken to mitigate that effect. I mean, I get that it's a proposed temporary use. I feel like you probably would not want to continue any longer than you had to there. But in the meantime, we still have to work through ways to make the site plan so that it's not so damaging to the property values and the quality of life of the neighbors
During that timeframe, right?
during the time that it's going to be there. And I don't really see anything on the site plan that speaks to that. So I think.
Have you guys
for me,
been
I have
back
a
there?
problem with that.
Have you guys been back there at all anytime recently?
Yeah, I drive by it all the time.
No, you drive by from Jefferson. Have you been back to the shoreline? Have you seen what's back there?
I have seen.
It's
the
an improve,
microserrial-
whatever they're doing now is gonna be a major improvement.
I've seen the microcerealia. I have also driven through the property just to the north. It is, there's a lot of issues there too. So, it's hard to imagine, like, if the same treatment, the same lack of attention that has been shown to that property is going to be shown to this property. And yeah, I'd like to see something on paper before I approve it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any other questions from the commissioners? And maybe this is a good time to address, I'm glad that you worded it that way. The items that are before us, the 5 items that we need to take into consideration for the temporary use. Item C, it has to be in harmony with the general character of the zoning district. All setbacks, land coverage, lighting, off-street parking, other requirements are to be considered in order to protect the public health, safety, peace, and general welfare of the inhabitants of the township. So not just of that property.
So in only one of those conditions, if it's a fail, it can
Would
be.
negate that.
Exactly.
That line item.
So
right.
being in harmony, I think, is quite evident. Again, I understand the situation, but I guess the other thing that I'm really concerned about is, we're talking about a 3-year period. We don't know what's going to happen to the owner out on South River Road. The owner could sell, the owner could pass away, it could be handed down to the family. And basically what happens is now you have a business that's in a residential neighborhood, non-compliant, non-conforming, and where are they going to go? Because now they have nowhere to go back to. That's, I guess, the whole thing, you know, if. I
Aaron
guess
could
if-
die tomorrow. He could fall off a barge tomorrow and die.
But the whole thing, you don't own that property. So if you don't own that property, you have no guarantee to go back to it, right? So that's my concern as well. You know, to me, you know, this would have been much more well-suited in an area that's either a marina district or
We tried.
industrial, or,
We tried.
well, maybe you need to look at Chesterfield, maybe you
We
need
did.
to,
We
maybe
went
you
all
need
the
to
way
look at
to
St. Clair
Anchor Bay,
Shores.
to New Baltimore,
Right.
or to Fairhaven.
Because St. Clair Shores or Chesterfield won't let you do this in a neighborhood, I can tell you that right now, so, just my thoughts.
No, and we went all the way to Fairhaven. I mean, they're either private properties, or they're not for sale, or they're
Or
completely
the
out of
residential.
budget. Or they're completely out of budget, though. You know, there's marinas out there that are for sale, but, you know, they're $4 or $5 million.
So the final item on our list, and one that was addressed verbally, no temporary use permit shall be granted without first giving notice to owners of the adjacent property of the time and place of the public hearing to be held on the application for a temporary use permit. So I just want to make sure, there's a placard out there, and all of the residents within,
Is there?
300 feet were probably mailed, okay.
It's an unusual situation, but, you know,
I
for
grant
sure.
you that.
I mean, the county doesn't care. I mean, they don't care.
If you have a lease, they can't just kick you off. They have to compensate.
100% they can, and they're fighting. They don't.
No, there's state law that they have to compensate. You may not agree with the compensation, but they have to compensate you.
Yeah.
So, and it might not be like before it happens, because you have to submit expense records.
This is the big
But it's, when you say, you know, you have no choice, you looked everywhere, this is the only place, I just,
This was the last phase before they seized their equipment.
I don't know, I guess I don't wanna hear you talking about their choices.
No, I know. Well, I'm not benefiting from it. I'm helping them out, but
They're
I mean,
paying you, right?
you know, nominally. I mean, I'm doing it more as a favor to kind of help the township and help them to get out of the situation and, you know, bring this bridge over.
I'm the one paying. I own the company. My name's
Okay.
Aaron. So that's how it
We're
works.
asking questions here, that's
Yep.
how it works.
Are you familiar with eminent domain? Do you know how it works? Do you understand how it works?
I understand some of it, yeah.
Some of it. Okay, so you don't understand all of it.
Well, can you give us a
Yeah.
brief explanation?
Yeah, I can. I
We would
actually have a
welcome-
lease. I have documentation signed with Macomb County Department of Roads. This has already been signed, sealed, delivered. This is over.
For the property on South River?
Correct.
The one that you occupied,
The one that
you
we
were leasing
occupied,
from?
yes. The county was in a massive hurry for funding issues. They had to take possession of it to get their federal funding. It was out of my control. There's nothing I can do. So what do you want me to do with that? Someone needs to get a hold of Paul Zook over at the Macomb County Department of Roads, talk to Ken
But
Verkest.
there's a process that you are getting compensated, that's all I'm saying.
I will be reimbursed.
Yeah.
There's a big
That's
difference.
compensation.
No, there's a big difference. I have to submit. My invoices have to be approved. That's not a guarantee. That is in writing from the county and the county's attorney. I can submit 500 grand worth of invoices. I might get 50 of it.
So this is covered under state law, this relocation due to.
$25,000.
So there's moving expenses that they pay, there's a whole list of things. So, I
Up
mean,
to
and I don't wanna
25,
get
up
lost
to
in that
25.
because
I don't want to either, but
that's
you're the one
beside the
addressing
point.
that.
Well, I just wanted to make it.
Well, you're the one speaking of it like you know how it goes, but it's
Okay,
up to
we're not
25,000.
arguing here right now.
Well, you are. Look at
Okay.
you. You're really upset.
I don't have my gavel, and I would use it right
I can
now
walk
if I
out now. We
did.
can just take it to court.
So, hold on. Let's tone it down. Come on, let's just bring it down. We are in the information gathering stage, so we're collecting information from you, and we appreciate you sharing that. And obviously, we appreciate all of the questions from our commissioners. So let's just bring it down, please. Okay, so you're in a situation, you own the South River Road property.
No, I do
you-
not own it.
No,
I leased it.
There's no in, yeah. Carol Sable owns that property.
Okay, I
Yeah.
thought he just said
They're
he's the
They're
owner.
the tenant of that property, so eminent
Okay,
domain
all
is
right.
against Carol Sabo
Not
on her
against,
property.
not
They're
against
taking
the
it from
leaser.
her.
Or the leasee.
This is just the fact that a business is being displaced due to the county taking this over.
Yeah.
Against Carol Sable.
Right.
That's with you
That's
between her.
you and her. That has nothing to do with us. Thank you for clarifying that. Okay, commissioners, any additional questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir?
I got a few things I want to talk about
Okay.
here. First off, I understand the need to relocate. It's very clear that this has been in the works for quite some time. What I'm really struggling with here is everybody has part of the process. And I understand your back's against the wall to get off out of that property and to move somewhere. But you wedge yourself in between nothing but residential. So there's a process that you go through. It's this board first, not after everything started. As I look at the pictures, I look at the aerials, I listen to everybody's conversations. One thing that seems to be missing on this is, yeah, it's just for 3 years according to the property owner, and yeah, it's not a big deal. You don't live there. You don't live there. Let me finish. Reading the documentation from the consultants, what are we doing for lighting? Part lighting, site lighting, what are we doing for hours of operation? You're not gonna start up some of your equipment at 6 o'clock in the morning. How do we prevent that from happening? I look at, you're about 400 feet from the water line with your fence. Well, that's cool. But I also look at a 5,200 square foot of spoils you're gonna dredge out of there and store right along that property line that is abutting homes. And like they mentioned earlier, it's gonna smell. What's the plan for that? What are we looking at? You gotta come to us with something that we can grab onto and say, you know what? This'll work for 3 years. But to come in here and say, it's already up, and say, well, it's only 3 years, it's not a big deal, where else are they gonna go? The people that know me know that I always try to find a solution when there's a hardship. I've been in the enforcement of construction codes for 28 years. I'm not new to this. I've overseen millions of dollars in construction currently in my current job. I get it. and I'm always a helpful partner. But when we disrespect the process and we don't follow what you're supposed to and just go ahead and start doing it, and I don't know who gave you permission. At this point, I really don't care. But it's put this board in a very awkward position. How do we help this business that had to relocate abruptly? But was this the best choice? I don't know if it was. But come to us and say, we got these spoils, we're digging out, we're digging it in, we're moving the seawall in so the barge comes in so the neighbors don't have to look at that. When we leave, we're gonna cross it over, fill it back in. Give us something that we can build with. Right now, we're just getting people just throwing ideas out there and it's not gonna work. Until we see a better plan, I'm sorry, I can't support the temporary use here. I'm trying to just, I mean, the fence, I look at the pictures of the fence, and the first question I had earlier, what about the containment for the fuel tanks? One thing I know very well on is construction codes, is building codes, and fire codes. I work with it every day. And I can tell you, that containment is not gonna work. There's no impact protection around there. We have a life safety issue. We have a fiduciary responsibility that we have to protect the public health, safety, and welfare. I don't see that. So I think we need to have more information come back to us so we can steer this thing back and get this thing back on track. I'm looking at residential to the north, residential to the south. It's just not a good fit. Not a good fit. I mean, and you guys have been around. I've never had personal dealings with you guys. I've never really dealt with you guys at all in this township. But I also understand that it has to be harmonious with the surrounding areas, and this is not. So that's all I have, Madam Chair, at the time.
Thank you, Mr. Vazenko. Any other commissioners? Any questions for the applicant?
I would like to address his issues real quick, if I can. So, I agree with you. We're premature on this meeting. I'm waiting on the Eagle, I'm waiting on a United States Army Corps of Engineers permit. There is a plan to remove all the seawall. As far as the dredge spoils, it's like any other dredge project that has gone along over at Storkel, which I've bid on, I've been a part of, Dean's Marine's been a part of. They get moved upland, they dewater. That's the dredging process. If you're in construction, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's just how it goes. That's the nature of the business. Eagle has permitted it. The state of, the Army Corps of Engineers is permitting it. When I have those permits in hand, I will bring them back, I will submit them to you guys. We can come back in 30 days. I will have all your questions and I'll have your answers. I'll have it all on paper for you. It's all there. We're steps ahead of you guys. This moved really fast.
Well, not necessarily, because we are.
Unfortunately, we are.
Here,
I'm sorry.
you're after the
This has been
fact.
going on for 2
This
years
is
with the
well
county.
after the
We
fact.
are steps ahead of you guys. I'm sorry that you guys are last to find out. I really am, as well as the residents. I truly am. But this is just how it went. There's nothing I can do with it. You guys want to fault someone, fault the county of roads. I have gone through the proper channels. I've dealt with the building department. It is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. I have to go somewhere. I have a business to run. Is it the most ideal spot? Absolutely not. I'm with you. It's a horrible spot. There's nothing left. They were supposed to give us the Odyssey site over on South River Road, and the county reneged on that deal over there. They wouldn't put us in there. They couldn't find a place for the naval ship that goes there, because it runs on, I guess, I don't know, some 3 or 4 phase electric. There was no marina that could accommodate it, so they couldn't move it. So that was originally supposed to be the plan.
There was another site that we proposed too, the tech team denied it. They wouldn't
Yeah,
give
that
me
was the one.
A marina, actually a marina site on North River Road. So, I mean, it's, right in the marina district, I mean, it's all marinas there. You know, they denied it.
So there is a plan to remove the seawall. Everything gets restored. Eagle would not approve it unless we agreed to remove it. We have to sign documentation with them. The state would hold us accountable. I'm not just gonna abandon it.
So that paperwork is forthcoming, are you
That
saying?
paperwork is forthcoming.
And when are you expecting that?
It's the state of Michigan. Tomorrow, next month, 3 months, I don't know.
You've applied, performed all of your due diligence from your
Correct.
side.
Yep, all
There's
of our
nothing
drawings, our
remaining
credit
from you
application has been
as the
submitted.
business owner.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You made the, let me address something there. You made the comment of, you apologize that we're the last to know and that it would have been incumbent upon Macomb County. How is that correct? You're the person petitioning, or the company's petitioning. Isn't it incumbent upon your group to bring it to us, not the county, in this situation?
How long did this sit at Harrison Township until we got this meeting?
You had all the proper documentation required to get this put in front of the planning commission since August. That's not how I've seen this to work.
I believe everything has been submitted and turned in since August.
And when did this applicant request to be placed on our agenda for consideration for this temporary land use?
I believe it was in December, and it's big in my emails. It wasn't August.
Well, hold on, December?
Whenever I got all of the application was before the deadline for this meeting. So it was within
2
that
weeks.
frame.
Okay.
Where they couldn't do the last meeting, whatever that frame is.
So December 19th, I think, was our last, whatever our last meeting was. Okay, so 2
Application
weeks.
is dated December.
December, okay. Okay, thank you. All right, so I have a question, and I don't know if this goes to legal or if Mr. Young can answer this. We're in a situation where we're dealing with potentially setting a temporary land use on a piece of property, but the applicant is the leaser of the property, not the owner of the property. How are we, and we had trouble with this when we were working on the South River Road, South River Road piece for the same kind of a situation. We had an applicant and a property owner. So how are we?
The property owner has signed off on the application form.
Okay. So that then, if we receive all of our information from the applicant, the business, and we perform all of our conversations with the business, the leaser.
Right, because they have the permission from the property
From the
owner
property
to
owner.
request.
Okay.
Yes.
So the temporary land use is for the business.
It's
and
for the
has-
property.
It's for the property.
Yes.
Okay. So.
Yeah.
and
Ultimately, the property owner is responsible for.
Thank you. That's what I was, sorry, I didn't mean to.
You know,
make
if
go there,
there's a
but-
condition that you would put, let's say related to restoration, a date that it must be restored. Ultimately, the property owner is responsible.
And then.
Even if it's hours of operation. The business would need to adhere to that, but it's the property owner's responsibility to ensure that their tenant complies with the condition.
Okay. And then any infractions upon that property for any non-compliance would fall to the owner or to the business?
The owner.
To the owner? Okay. Thank you. Okay, commissioners, any questions? What do you want to do? We have an option to table this request, deny this request, approve this request.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay? Mr.
In reference to case 01-25 SLU Huron Point Excavating located at 32490 South River Road, I request that we table this until we get some more additional information to work with the business owner and try and get a resolution to this.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Did you want to make that date specific, or did you want to place a time frame on that, or next meeting, or when the
I would
applicant
suspect
requests
we'll
to
see
be?
them next meeting.
Next meeting? So 30 days?
I will put up, if we have to, I can put a date on there of no later than the March meeting.
February
Something
20th
isn't
is
ready
our
for
next
February.
meeting. That's our, I don't know what March March's just yet.
So would your next meeting date be 17th,
February 20th,
February 20th?
yeah.
The deadline's coming up, right?
Well, they would have to, they just need to come back 2 weeks before.
And then March 20th. So February 20th and then March 20th are the two next meetings. And the deadlines for those are 2 weeks prior to each meeting?
Okay.
Um, Okay, so we have, I'll wait for discussion on the motion. So we have a motion to table this item to allow, till the next meeting, to allow time to remediate the issue, to what?
To provide us additional information that we need to make a fair assessment,
22nd?
business plan. And I would like to table it, put it no later than the March 20th meeting, just in case he doesn't have everything by the February meeting.
Fair enough.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll support.
Mr. Tominello. Okay, discussion on the motion. How, so what happens in the meantime? What happens over the next 30, possibly 60 days if without approval, without special temporary rights, does everything then just fall to the ordinance officer and becomes an additional civil infraction?
As well as the fire inspector, right, to inspect the fuel tanks.
Yeah, that's not
So
in his report.
additionally racking up non-compliant.
I think the township's responsible for any type of enforcement until they get their approvals. And then
And that's out of our hands.
that's out of our hands.
Right.
We're here to
Right.
talk about the temporary use.
Yeah.
Like, there's the noise ordinance as well, so
Mhm.
it's pretty generous, though, it's 77.
Any other discussion on the motion?
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing some more on the site plan that will show that, there's some sort of, space in between the use, especially seeing, well, all the residential uses. So there are ways to do that. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Any other,
Spoils, yeah. The activity, the screening that was in the planner's letter.
if no other discussion, roll call please, Ms. Devlin?
Roll call. Commissioner Mike?
Yes.
Mr. Weisenko?
Commissioner Dominello?
Yes.
Commissioner Duncan?
No.
Chair Murray?
No.
And I vote yes.
So motion carries. So we will see you hopefully in February with all of your paperwork and necessary additional information in hand, or March 20th at the latest.
Great.
So you've got your deadline dates for submission.
And if not, we just live with it, that's it. Have a nice day, pay your taxes, have a nice day, right?
Mike, you just moved there, calm down.
Hey,
And
no,
you
no,
want-
no, 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 no.
you moved
We're not doing
there?
this.
All by myself.
We're
You
not
guys were
doing
next
this.
door to me. I've been
Please.
doing this for 50 years.
Could you
I don't
please
need to
step
come
out?
home to it.
Your case is ended. Could you please step out? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
See how he is?
Yep.
See how he is?
Just, hold, just,
I was just
Just-
speaking to the township.
It's 6
I-
o'clock in the morning,
I
I listen
understand.
to that.
I understand.
It's
I
up to the
understand.
township. This board doesn't have enforcement
So-
on an illegal occupancy.
So
See,
what,
we'll give him a $25
so,
ticket.
well, so hang tight. So your option, and it's out of our hands. Your option is to contact the township and contact the ordinance officer. And you, that's their job. That's
My
their
lawyers
job.
will contact him.
Well,
And what you guys are
somebody needs
missing-
to.
What you're missing is I've done it for 50 years. I still do to
We
this day.
can't have
You're
off
talking, they're gonna
mics.
spend
I know.
We
$400,000 to
cannot have-
$500,000
I know.
putting in that seawall and removing it.
Okay,
So you
all
can't
right.
take that 500,000 and find somewhere else to move?
I feel your passion, and I understand,
I have a
I
shop on
understand
the
your
river.
frustration.
They never contacted me and asked me.
But, okay, so I'm
You
gonna
have my
ask you,
shop in
I'm
Byron.
gonna ask you, please. We need to carry on our business here. That item is done. We
Your
need-
business.
Well, we.
My business means nothing.
No, 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 no. We are planning commission. That's what we're doing here tonight. We
So
have,
you should've
no,
denied
no,
it.
no, that's, no, there are 7 people and there's only 5 here tonight. So this is
How
our,
does he move
this
it
is our
before you
job.
approve it?
This, I don't know. That,
Well, then you
I
tell
don't
him
know.
you shouldn't
But
be
that is
there.
not, that is not our job to take care of that. That is with the ordinance officer in the township, yes. So you need to contact the
So you
ordinance
couldn't
officer.
tell him right now
So
you
I'm gonna
couldn't
tell you right
deny
now,
it until
this
we
conversation
approve
is
it.
gonna stop because we need to move on to our agenda. So please, please,
And I need to move
please,
on with my life.
I am asking you, please.
Yeah.
Thank
Talk to
you.
my attorneys.
Thank you.
And I've got plenty of attorneys.
Excuse me, I'm gonna read something to this.
Okay, so our next item,
Can I read something?
no, no. We are having a meeting right now.
Temporary use of storage yard for miscellaneous equipment and
I'm
materials.
calling, I am
Says
calling.
nothing about barges.
I am calling for the next item to be read. Unfinished business, please.
Case number 27-24-RZ Captions Party Store at 25450 North River Road, rezoning from LC to GC for a future gas station development.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? Hi, how are you? Good, please come up.
Good evening, Planning Commission members, and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
My name is Tom Callis, and I represent the applicant and property owner on this rezoning. Also with me here this evening is the engineer, the owner, and Mr. Adams from Corrigan Oil, who is going to be the supplier and contractor for the gas station. I don't know if Mr. Young was going to give a preview before.
Well, I was just gonna ask, and you hopped right up there, which is just fine.
Before I proceed any.
That is okay.
Okay.
So, Mr. Young, may I please ask for,
Yes, so this
Thank
is a continuation, in a sense, of a rezoning that you heard at your October 2024 meeting. A public hearing was held on this rezoning request with notices given to property owners. At the October Planning Commission meeting, you recommended denial based on the 7 or 8 rezoning criteria that you use in order to come up with a recommendation. That was forwarded to the Township Board, and I believe between that time and the Township Board meeting, the applicant decided that they would like to amend their request and turn it into a conditional rezoning request. A conditional rezoning request is something that by state law, any applicant may offer and a municipality may approve. Essentially rezoning with conditions. So these are voluntarily offered conditions. You can't ask the applicant to provide conditions or offer a conditional rezoning, but the applicant may offer those to you. The applicant has done that. I suspect the applicant will list off the conditions that they have offered in writing. So those conditions are in a letter that was dated November 12th. Because they changed the rezoning to a conditional rezoning, the Township Board, I believe at their meeting where your recommendation was on their agenda, they sent it back to the Planning Commission. So the Township Board is asking for a new recommendation in consideration of the conditions that they are now offering. So this site is 25450 North River Road. It features Captain's Party Store right now. The property is zoned local commercial district. They're seeking a rezoning to the general commercial district. And now they are seeking this rezoning with the condition. So I guess that's the background. I'll turn it back to you, to the applicant, to
Thank
finish
you.
their presentation.
Thank you very much. Okay, okay, so anything in addition to what has been said?
Sure. Again, Tom Callis, and my address is 31350 Telegraph Road, that's Suite 201, and that's in Bingham Farms. Again, I'm here representing the applicant and landowner, and we have representatives here to answer any questions you may have relative to the site, the actual use that's specific now. So what we did is, initially it was submitted as a regular rezoning from local commercial to general commercial. It was always the client's intention, the property owner's intention, to build a gas station there to complement the convenience store and to help the convenience store in today's marketplace compete. Because everywhere you look, you're seeing these new gas stations being put up with food. Food without gas isn't going to work, and gas without food isn't going to work. So we feel this is an ideal site, especially with its location right off of I-94, exit ramp, entrance ramp, convenient for consumers, residents, vehicles coming off the ramp from 94 going onto 94. What a great place to stop, fill up your gas tank, pick up some food, some beverages for the trip or wherever you're going. So this will actually end up turning this business from a seasonal business, which is what the convenience store pretty much caters to because of the summer, the boating and all that industry out there, to a year-round business, where now, with the addition of the gas station, it will again complement the convenience store and vice versa. So the reason we converted this to a conditional rezoning from a general rezoning is because we know under the law that if you were to approve the rezoning to general commercial, even though the applicant had represented, I wasn't present at the time, that it's going to be a gas station with the convenience store, and if you were to approve that, they can come in and pretty much use it for any use under the GC zoning district. So the conditional zoning we felt was proper because we're proposing a site plan, we've submitted a site plan, so you know exactly, if you were to approve the rezoning or recommend approval, since you're the recommending body, you know exactly what you're going to get. There was a plan prepared, submitted by Anderson, Eckstein, and Westrick, indicating how that site will look. We actually had a traffic study prepared by AEW also, who also act as township engineers and municipal engineers for many communities. The traffic study was submitted. We apologize. Yesterday, that's when it was completed because of the holidays and delays and all that. But the traffic study will show you, and I have Mr. Pangori here, who's able to talk about that. When we looked at the intersections and as they exist with current traffic counts, vehicular traffic, it operates at a level C, which is an acceptable level. With our development, it will also operate at a level C. So there's not going to be much, although obviously there's more traffic because now you have a gas station. The impact is not going to be significant or, nominal at best. So we did submit that. Hopefully it's in your packet. You've had a chance to at least look at the findings in that traffic study. So this is a site that, as I indicated, and with the conditional zoning, as Mr. Young indicated, we've attached conditions to that. So if you do approve the rezoning or recommend approval, we have to, by law, we have to live up to those conditions. So you have a site plan that's part of our conditional rezoning. That site plan shows a layout. You have a letter I submitted on November 12th that contains conditions in there also that we have to abide by. Now, and we're cognizant of the fact that at some point, if the rezoning is approved, we still have to go through your site plan approval process. So that site plan that you see in your packet will actually have to go through your formal site plan approval process, engineering approval, so at that point it'll be scrutinized and your departments, your professionals will all review it and have their comments, and obviously we'll meet any comments to conform to your ordinances. But this is an ideal location for this type of use. When you look at the site, you have again, general commercial property zoned right next to it. You've got multifamily apartment uses to the south and the west. You've got an office building located southwest. There's an attorney's office to the east, and there are several existing businesses across North River Road to the north, and that area is industrial and master planned for industrial uses. So there's no residential around it other than the multifamily. But again, this is a site that is ideal for this type of use and this type of development. It will allow the applicant to now operate as a legitimate year-round business instead of a seasonal business, and it's a situation that with the site plan and a rezoning, it's actually going to improve the aesthetics of the site. You'll see in the site plan, there's provisions, there'll be landscaping, parking, improvements made to the site. We're actually going to have an additional access drive on the North River Road coming out of the gas station. The gas station will have 4 dispensaries, but 8 pumps, so, 2 pumps on each station. It's not a major station, where you see nowadays, you see, 8 pumps, 12 pumps, 14 pumps. This is very, conducive to the site. It's going to make the site definitely more marketable and economically feasible to operate. And, we feel that it's a site or a use that fits in that area. Again, in today's marketplace, the convenience store without gas and, gas without convenience is just not going to work. For my client to remain competitive, this is a use that, is necessary. And quite frankly, we feel fits right into that area, right on that site, and will create a convenience for residents and, again, vehicular traffic traveling in that direction, getting on the expressway, getting off the expressway. So the traffic study, again, was submitted. There's a demand there. There's, in that area, there's no other such type uses. So with that being said, again, we're here to answer any questions, and we would, kindly request that after your review that you recommend approval of the rezoning for the Township Board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Callis. Any questions from the commissioners?
Can you state, or can you discuss the conditions? Adam said that already, I missed it.
I did not. I do have them listed in my letter, and I took them from the applicant's letter. I'd be glad to list the 4 conditions.
Or the applicant.
Or the applicant.
Doesn't matter, whoever's.
Yeah, sure. So the conditions are in the letter that I submitted, but more importantly, the conditions are actually the site plan. So we're submitting this plan as part of the conditions. So what you see on this plan is what we have to abide by.
Yeah.
In addition to, meetings, again, we'll have to formally submit for site plan approval, special land use, which a gas station is, engineering approval, permits, all the good stuff that typically comes with your normal site plan approval and engineering approval process. So,
But in terms of the use,
Yeah,
gas station is a use, and as you see it on there, there's going to be 4 different dispensaries, 8 pumps, there's a canopy, there's going to be, obviously, the parking lot's going to be improved, certain areas repaved, additional access drive out to North River Road. So if you look at and although we reference it as a concept plan because it hasn't been actually formally submitted for site plan approval, there's quite a bit of detail on there. And whatever's on there, we have to abide by law.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Just thinking back to your discussion at the October Planning Commission meeting and some of the concerns that you had, the first condition is that the property will be combined with the 0.23 acres from the abutting property to the east. That property is already zoned general commercial. And I think that was one of the property that has just the Captain's Party store that's zoned local commercial, didn't meet the minimum lot size for the general commercial district. So that condition that they will combine the 2 into 1 speaks to that. The second condition, when or if approved for the lot For the split and combination to become one legal parcel, the property will be developed and used as a unified site with the existing convenience store and 4 gas pumps with canopy. So that's kind of the self-limitation of what the property can be used for. So that would be a condition, and so I think there was discussion about what that other uses be allowed on that property if it's rezoned. Of course, we knew that, yes, that would be, or could be the case under a traditional rezoning. So that condition 2 speaks to some of the comments from October. Yep, that concept plan that was submitted, of course, because they also say that they had to come back for not just site plan review, but also special land use review, and they say that in condition number 4. A gas station is a special land use in the general commercial district. So to the extent that the concept plan shows the applicant's vision overall for the site.
Specificity.
There will still be specifics and details will need to be worked out, and I think that condition 4 gives you the flexibility to make those final decisions at that time.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
So things like storage of boats and trailers and turning radii and that sort of thing, we can address that at the site plan stage?
Yes.
I would agree that you can address that at the site plan stage. Yep. Those could be conditions offered by the applicant. The nuance with the conditional rezoning is that, we can't force them to offer any conditions, but you can share your comments or thoughts about things that, concerns that you might have, maybe that could turn into additional conditions if the applicant is so willing to offer those.
Okay, because I remember this discussion being whether or not this site had enough room to accommodate some of the types of traffic that would be gassing up before driving to the lake. So, I don't know how anybody else thinks about that.
So if I may just address that. So when we come in for site plan and special land use, obviously the site will be full, it's going to be engineered. You'll see the turning radii, you'll see the site, the dimensions, you'll have, professional review of it from your departments. If there's any conditions that need to be met, to give you that comfort level and meet your ordinance, we handle that during the site plan and engineering review process. So we can tell you that at this stage, it is a conditional rezoning, it will be for the gas station, and obviously, we're going to still have to meet all your ordinance requirements for that type of use. So for parking, for turning, for ingress, egress, landscaping, buffering, all that, whatever's required under your ordinance, we still have to come in and meet all that.
Okay, so can I ask a follow-up question to Mr. Young? So say that the applicant decides that it's not, the traffic pattern isn't going to work for them, and they don't want to move forward with the gas station. They would have to come back with a new rezoning of something that isn't the gas station, which was the condition that they put on this rezoning. Is that right?
Yes, if they wanted to do something other than a gas station, absolutely.
Yeah.
They'll have to come back. I would even argue maybe there's some nuance in the language, especially for their condition number 3, some flexibility for this concept to be changed. Still showing the convenience store and gas station only, but let's say that you, through the site plan process, decided that, I don't know, a third entrance drive was needed. Okay, I'm not saying that that's going to happen. I would wonder does that invalidate your condition because you offered that it will be in accordance with this plan, and this only shows 2 drives. So maybe that's just something, I guess I'm speaking to the applicant here, like protect yourself in that regard. So maybe
I'm just trying to.
leave some flexibility, some room
So
for
to
revision.
give you the comfort level, the county road department obviously is going to, North River Road, I presume, is a county road. So they're going to look at the plan and they're going to have, their conditions. They may say put in a taper lane or put in, I doubt there'll be more than 2 access drives that will be required. But if it's required as part of the site plan, the special land use approval, we're going to have to abide by that. So I'm not saying that we're only going to put 2 access drives. We're going to have to meet. We're showing 2 access drives because that's what the plan calls for. But if the county road department comes back and says, you have to do this, or put a bypass lane, or, obviously we have to meet that condition, so. So we're not restricting, ourselves to
So this,
access
this
drives.
opportunity, this is just opening the door for this.
And it's protecting you in the sense that they're saying it will be a convenience store with gas pumps.
Which was one of my concerns when we first talked, is that the uses in the GC were so broad.
Right.
And many of them were not appropriate for this parcel. So, I mean, I appreciate that the applicant is willing to enter into a conditional rezoning, because that addresses a lot of the concerns that I had, which is the unconditional rezoning to GC.
Mr. Young, can you talk about your review? Because part of a special land use, we had stated previously that number 7 was not met, and that was one of our reasons that we turned this down when it's brought to us. So what changes now because it's conditional? Because I thought number 7 is tied to the special land use and not to conditional rezoning. So I guess I need to understand why that would change.
So I think we were looking at number 7, we were referring to the rezoning review standard, number 7.
Okay,
Which is the apparent demand for the types of uses permitted in the requested zoning district in the township in relation to the amount of land currently zoned to accommodate the demand. So in October, we had to look at every use allowed in the general commercial district and make a determination is there demand for all of these types of uses? And now given that they're offering to limit to just convenience store with gas pumps, you can now narrow your view of the apparent demand for these uses. I believe the applicant did speak to that to a certain extent, maybe in October. So I think you're just able now to not worry about having to prove that any of the other uses allowed in the general commercial would have a demand at this location.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Madam Chair, I do have a question for Mr. Callis. Combining the property to the existing property with the property to the east, I see you have the second driveway going out the north, or proposed. Is that on this property that you're combining it with, or is that part of the property that owns a commercial building to the east of the driveway?
Well, my client owns both parcels, so it is on the parcel that will be split off and combined, the .23 acres.
So, but it says in the map, the parcel map, 1.81, so the .23 is a portion.
Of the 1.81, yeah.
So, just to be clear, that driveway to the east of where the pumps will be on the property that's being combined with the pumps and canopy?
Correct. And we needed to split off that parcel to meet your 30,000 square foot requirement for general commercial use, or general commercial zoning, I should say.
Okay. Follow-up question. What happens with those two parcels? I understand you own the buildings, but what happens if you sell them tomorrow? So you don't have any right to access. Is there going to be an access agreement in place, mutual access?
Yeah, mutual reciprocal easement agreement, access agreement, so it's not going to be everyone will have access in and out, so.
Is there one in place now? I'm sorry.
No, because I don't think there's a drive there. Yeah, there's no drive there.
Oh, just because the way.
There's just the one.
A resident was talking last.
To that question, I think Captain's Party Store right now must have some sort of a reciprocal access agreement to the apartments to the south.
Yeah.
Right.
So presumably, something similar would have to
Yeah.
be put in place for the property.
Should that be in the conditions?
It will certainly be something that's flagged as
Yeah.
needing to be done as part of the detailed site plan review process.
So 2.27 is the total size of both pieces. Do I have that correct?
The total, yes, the total,
I think that's what, is what's listed.
.69, 0.69 of an acre,
Will be the new.
yes.
So the combined total of both properties right now, the Captain's Party Store property. Well, let's do this again. The Captain's Party Store property is 0.46 acres.
Right, I got that.
The property also owned by Mr. Luabi to the east is 1.81 acres.
Right,
The combined total of two is 2.27.
so 2.27 acres.
Yes, and I believe he said that
0.69,
We're splitting off .23 from,
.23,
From the
adding it to the
1.81.
.46. So yeah,
so that gives you
0.69 will be the
the new parcel.
new parcel.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, motion, please. Any other questions from the applicant? Any other information that you would like to provide?
Not really, the conditions, and again, as Mr. Young indicated, we have to go through the site plan and engineering, and I'm sure conditions will be flagged at that point that we'll have to meet relative to these issues we discussed, and, the actual site layout and all that, so.
Thank you. May I have a motion, please? And this would be to recommend to the township board.
Correct. It's a recommendation.
Now is where I kind of missed the paper.
Yeah.
It's hard to omit.
Yeah. So this would be a recommendation, if, the options are to recommend to the township board approval of conditional rezoning from LC to GC specifically for future gas station development. We can recommend to deny, or we can table.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the conditional rezoning.
Recommend.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank
Let me start over.
Thank you.
I will make a motion to recommend approval of the conditional rezoning from LC to GC, subject to the rezoning review standards, or in accordance with the rezoning review standards that were set forth in the township planner's letter, along with the 7 findings, or scratch that last part. And with the conditions that were proposed by the applicant.
I'll second that.
Motion to recommend to the township board approval of the conditional rezoning in accordance with the review standards, the planner letters, and specifically referencing the
conditions proposed by the applicant.
Okay, the conditions that were supplied by the applicant, as referenced in the site plan provided. Seconded by Mr. Duncan. Any discussion on that motion? Roll call, please.
So I guess, Member Devlin, yes. Who seconded?
I did.
Member Duncan?
Yes.
Member Mike?
Yes.
Member Tominelli?
Yes,
And Member, Chair Murray?
Thank you, yes. Okay.
Thank you very
Make the
much.
recommendation.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Secretary.
You're doing a fine job. Okay, so Our next item, please.
Case number 17-24-S Mando Properties at 48043 Jefferson Avenue, which is for a 4-unit multifamily development.
Thank you. Mr. Young?
Okay, so we have, the.
Excuse me? We're still conducting business. May I please ask you to take it outside? Thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. Young, go ahead.
Yep, the applicant is here this evening. So we have seen this previously. So this is a revised site plan that we have received. This is a site plan for a 4-unit attached multiple family residential building at 34535 Jefferson Avenue. It's just over 1/2 acre in size. This site was actually conditionally rezoned to the RM2 multiple family district. One of the conditions is that they self-limited the maximum allowable density. The ordinance would potentially have allowed 5 units. They were okay with 4 units, and that's what they're proposing here. So from the previous time that we saw it to this evening, the revised site plan, some of the key changes, they now are showing, as opposed to one kind of screened-in enclosure area for all of the bins to be stored next to one of the units, which wasn't really accessible to the other units, they're now providing 2 kind of spaces, both screened for the storage of for those garbage bins, essentially. So 2 units now can share a space that's closer to their units. They have also widened each of the driveways, each of the 4 driveways from 16 feet to 20 feet to accommodate 2 vehicles in the driveway. Each unit will also have its own 2-car garage. They have added additional trees along the side yard between this subject site and the adjacent property to the south, which also is used for multiple family use. They've added additional trees along the Jefferson Avenue frontage so that the frontage landscaping requirements of the ordinance are now met. And they've added a landscape maintenance commitment, essentially saying that they understand that they are responsible for maintaining their landscaping in perpetuity in good and healthy condition. I really only have, one comment was at the November Planning Commission meeting, you asked the applicant to consider not using maple or spruce trees. Maple and spruce are still shown on the proposed site plan. So that's something to discuss. Maybe that could be a condition of approval. And then there was just incorrect note on the site plan about the amount of open space that they needed. Regardless of that note, they do provide sufficient space per the ordinance. They did actually submit, I saw a revised site plan that has that note corrected on it. Those are my comments. Those are the planning comments related to this. So it's really just maybe the trees at this point is what, if you want them to replace those maple and spruce trees with a different variety.
Okay. Mr. Tanner,
Yes.
anything that you would like to share?
Really, there's nothing, what they've provided, it's adequate for engineering site plan purposes. They'll need to provide some more detail for their final construction permits, but that's through the Harrison Township and through Macomb County.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, questions for the applicant? You remember this coming forward? The hiding of the garbage was our biggest. I think that was our biggest, and the widening of the driveway to accommodate 2 vehicles was smart. We appreciate the landscaping. So, did you indicate that the site plan that you saw did have the spruce and the maple removed?
No.
Or just the size
No.
of the open space?
Just the open space
Okay,
was
got it.
corrected.
So I can make it real quick, 'cause
Okay.
I appreciate you guys' time, I know it's running late. I was under the impression that the additional trees we were deficient needed to be requested not to be maple and spruce. The ones that we had showed on the existing plan, I never even bothered to address the change, but if you want them changed, consider it done.
Okay,
Make it real easy.
thank you.
I mean, it's just a recommendation to try to use something other than maple, just because there are so many maples in Macomb County, especially this.
I am in
side.
complete agreement, I just misunderstood. I thought the additional ones, which we did, were not maple or spruce. The existing ones we showed, what I'm, I guess, requesting, could it be a condition for approval, and I'll consider it done. I just
Okay.
hopefully would not have to come back
Oh, yeah, no.
here again.
But I mean, and then the spruce issue was that they're suffering from diseases right now.
Understand.
So they fail to thrive, and so it's not a good tree to start out with.
Sure.
Yeah, so in the maple, if there's some sort of a pest that comes along, like the emerald ash borer,
Mhm.
that takes out all the maples, the county's gonna be in trouble because we don't have maples. So,
Sure.
but I mean, the spruce, I really think that you want to change that out for that reason, but, the maple, you know, I don't feel strong enough to like hold up the site plan, but I do think that you'd be happier with something.
Agreed. And the topo for the engineering will submit with the building permit.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions for the applicant? Any other, I'm sorry, Mr. Young, anything else?
I don't have
I
anything
think you addressed your 4 items from
Yes.
your letter. Any questions from the commissioners for the applicant?
No questions, but I would just go, if you're gonna look at another species, I would look at other ones.
You got an email, I'll personally email you what we're gonna buy. Honestly, it's all set. I agree with you.
Linden are typically commercially available, and they look good, so that would be my suggestion if you could.
They weren't changed just because of the misunderstanding. I thought the new ones were.
Any other questions or comments from?
Yes, because is Rosemary Davis present, or
She's our, yes, we have a,
is that, okay,
This is-
I was
yes.
supposed to get with her to get that
Thank you.
paperwork. Okay. No, I have no other questions.
oh, you didn't need to ask a question?
Just that one.
Oh, okay, all right, thank you for being here. Okay, so no other questions for any of us, or the planner, or the engineer? No questions from the commissioners?
I do have one. You guys get paid overtime if you have to go along? That's-
Oh, no.
$5,000 a
No,
meeting.
but we probably will be getting a call from the security company, though, because it is after 9.
No, I have no other questions.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve case 1724-S, Mandel Properties, seeing that all the changes submitted will be taking place.
Thank you. Ms. Devlin, Mr. Tominello, Ms. Devlin, thank you very much. Any discussion on that motion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Tominelli?
Yes.
Commissioner Devlin, yes. Commissioner Vyzenko?
Yes.
Commissioner Duncan?
Yes.
Chair Murray?
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We look
I
forward to
appreciate
it.
your guys'
We look forward
time.
to it. Okay, our next item is new business. Correspondence?
No correspondence?
Comments from the planner?
Nothing from me tonight.
Comments from the floor? Mr. Bardell, 3 minutes or less, please. He's going to sit down.
Thank you for telling me that. I've only been coming here for, I don't know how many years. Anyway, I want to, board members, I just had a question real quick about the unfinished business. Now, I know when the C. William Bardell, 28-year resident, clean cut boy next door, 50-year tradesman, what I wanted to know was why we didn't have a public hearing for the conditional rezoning for the gas station. Not that I'm against it, you know, I hope they have the proper radiuses to make the turns with pulling boats and so forth. So I just wonder why we wouldn't have not that I'm 100% against it, why we wouldn't have had a public hearing on that. The other thing I want to talk about was this excavating outfit that was running their outfit, in essence, in my opinion, for legal purposes, illegally. And I want to thank a few of you guys that have tagging these bad actors. I don't think it's good to reward bad behavior. And, when we hear things like talk to Ken Verkester's ordinance enforcement, just about fell out of my boots. So thank you guys for your work, trying to keep the honest people honest, and flagging some of these bad actors ahead of time. Because once it goes to Ken Verkester, the ordinance department, we don't know what's going to happen. So thank you for those, you know who you are, that are trying to cut them off at the pass, these bad actors. So thank you so much for your work. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you, Mr. Bordeaux. Any other public comment?
Hi, Bruce Godfrey, 32212 North River Road, Harrison Township. I didn't hear you call for comments on this gas station thing, but I'd like to make you aware of a couple things if I can. One concerns me is drainage off that property. How is it going to be handled? The new federal regulations require water retention on a piece of property over a certain size. I don't recall exactly what that size is, and I just wonder if they didn't construct the two lots together and reduce that size so they didn't have to put in this retention. You either got to have underground retention or they got to have a storm pond and not release the water until the storm threats are gone. Like, I don't know if you've ever paid any attention to that mobile station on the other side of the expressway, just put in all that underground. And I personally have done it on my property. That gas station, I questioned them, it's like $300,000 for that retention. I live on the river and I see a lot of garbage go down through there. Those sunken boats that are at that other marina on, gas tanks deteriorating on those and fuel going down. And especially at a gas station, if they have a fuel spill, it'd be nice to have that water retained until such time as it should be released. The other thing, they were talking about the driveways. There's only one driveway there currently, and that services that complex also. And that traffic's heavy down through there. Plus, Joe Bazzelli Plumbing there, the guy that owns the party store now has all those semis in there. So there's more traffic tied up there than ever. They back those semis in there, and that's only a 2-lane road through there. But you go west of the expressway, then it's all 4-lane. But the road needs to be widened if they do something like that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a
Thank you,
good
Mr.
night.
Godfrey.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
did you want me to answer the question about why?
Yeah, that would be
yeah.
wonderful. Yes, thank you.
A public hearing was held for the original request in October. If you were interested in that and were following that, you would have gone to the board meeting to take up your recommendation. They sent it back to the planning commission. The ordinance requires, and we follow what the ordinance requires and state law requires, one public hearing. Even confirmed with Rosemary, whether we needed to hold a second public hearing. We did not
Standard
need to hold
protocol
a
requires
second
one.
public hearing. With that said, though, when they come back, it is a special land use for the gas station. And so questions such as drainage and stormwater and runoff will be discussed, and there will be a public hearing for that special land use request. So new notices and new newspaper notification will be sent out.
Starting
so if
from
you're with-
scratch, essentially.
Yeah, if you're within 300 feet of the property, you will receive another notice when
The
this is
placard
back
will
in
be
front of
put
us.
on it too, right? So if you're driving
Yes,
by,
there'll be
you'll
a,
see
there'll be a
this
sign up on the, we do that for special land use public hearings. There'll be a sign on the property as well.
It's a big old sandwich board. Yeah.
Hold that thought. Any additional information? Our next meeting is February 20th, 2025. May I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Make that motion.
Mr. Mr. Duncan, supported by Mr. Vyzenko. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, Mr. Bardell, how are you?
Somebody blew out a glove.